business.
What?
Like, I don't have time to do stuff that I can do, like make flyers or like.
Just pay people to do it.
Well, I know, but it's just like I went to school for marketing. Like, this is what I did. Like I have the technology, I have the software. It's well within my wheelhouse to like make a website or.
But you're running a business.
Yeah, and working a full-time job. So it's like, it's just to even like try to squirrel away like an hour or two to like work on creative projects is just like, it's just so hard to do. It kind of makes me mad because that was the whole point of like wanting to be an entrepreneur is like you could kind of like have, I don't want to say freedom to do what you want, but a little creative outlet, like a little, like if one day I wanted to wake up and do something, like I could just go do it. Like I wouldn't have to like clock in somewhere necessarily,
But now it's more.
But now it's just like,
it's actually like more likely.
No, it's
like
creating a small business, being an entrepreneur is like having a baby.
Yes.
Like it's like your little child.
Yeah.
And it's like you want to raise it all the time, but sometimes you got to send it to daycare. You got to trust it in the hands of other people.
Right.
You got your inventory costs.
Yeah.
You got to feed it.
A lot of people say it's like a marriage, which is true, but I think the kid analogy is better.
I'd say, you and Chris's
you have to like
relationship is
nurture
a marriage.
it. Yeah, well,
Cafe Italiano is
the baby.
Is the brainchild.
Because you really do have to like nurture it.
Yeah.
I mean, build it.
There's
I mean,
branding.
You
got
did
to
that,
teach
Craig.
it. You have your bad days.
Yeah, right.
You got to discipline. You got to learn how to communicate.
Yeah. So there's
That
times where you just don't know what's going on, and you're like, whatever, like what the fuck, like let's just try to get through the goddamn day, So.
I don't know why you're attacking me right now.
Yeah.
I don't know what I did.
Let's just hope the business grows up a little faster than a
sometimes
biological child. So
we're moving at the same pace.
Yeah, really, we are.
I think Cash and the Diner
Yeah.
are about the same.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah.
10 months. Yeah.
Right around the same time.
And I don't know who's more articulate. with the baby.
So I had another one of those calls from Chris today. He's like, I just booked a party every other Saturday, 20 people from this Bible study. They're coming to the cafe on Saturday at noon. I'm like, okay. And he's done this like 4 or 5 times where he's like, I booked something. I don't think one of them has actually come through yet. So it's like, okay.
How often have you listened to him take phone calls?
That's true. Yeah. But it's not rough. Usually that. It's usually a connection he has in town. And that was supposed to be the positive thing with
He
Chris,
has a connection to a Bible study?
Yeah,
kinda. He goes to church. I mean, like he
goes to church.
Part of his AA rehab was
like
a Friday night,
yeah,
shirt and tie.
Really?
Yeah, he'd take it seriously. He would go get suit and tie.
He still talks about it seriously. Just you can tell when he's off the wagon and not. When he's on,
right.
When he's
sometimes there's follow through.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem very religious.
Well, but to his credit, he stuck with it.
Yes,
like for a long time after having to like be ordered to go there, so it was like, okay, I mean, it does make a difference, I think it's strategic. They meet on Friday nights. It's usually when people go out and get wasted, and it's like go to church instead.
That's why they do. That's exactly why it makes sense.
So it's some group from them. They want to come have lunch, and I'm like, okay, like whatever, like we'll see,
That's where God bless Chef Dan.
Yeah.
The guy
comes in, the sensei.
He gets his license for 1 hour.
Oh my goodness.
He has to go get a breathalyzer installed.
Yeah.
In the car.
This is
at like a Radio Shack down here in town. That place where you go, you know what I'm talking about. At the Y
the stereo
and
shop.
Ottoman. Yeah, the stereo shop.
Okay. And they put in your breathalyzer.
He hits someone at a red light.
Total discard. Just went out and bought it. 4 hours in, I think it was, or something like that. He gets hurt. He's in the hospital for like a day or two. It's like.
Wait, what? That just happened?
It just happened.
It was a random. I think that was when we had the brunch.
Wait, was he drinking?
We had breakfast and beer.
He wasn't drinking. Yeah,
we had breakfast and beer at Sobros, and we needed him as our backup cook. So it was like, we're calling him. I was like, what's going on here? What's going on here? It's like, no, he got his core for 1 day and
wrecked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Holy crap, that would suck.
Yeah.
What can you do? Oh snap! What do you do? I think Saturday our coffee roaster broke.
Yeah, the grinder.
Doesn't it cost a lot to get the breathalyzer put in the car too?
Yes, it does.
And
then he just wrecked it.
So it's tremendously expensive if you have a DUI to try to get back into a vehicle. And and this is actually kind of like, we could maybe call this an issue because
that's not any DUI. That's like multiples.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not saying like after one, like you have to go do all these hoops, but I mean, like
it's a house arrest kind of issue. But it's one of those things. If the government wanted to go happy mandate, there's no reason why we can't have a breathalyzer in every vehicle to make sure that nobody ever drinks and drives. That if you want to turn on your car, you have to breathe into it. And
yeah, I'm not going down that road. Obviously, I'm just saying like if you're going to be
required, we wore masks for a couple
them,
years.
Then,
we wore these plastic things that are all over the ocean now, like occupying landfills because we thought that was stopping.
We had to go through
a
lot of masks over the pandemic. I mean,
so it's like if there was an affordable way to put a breathalyzer in every car, why not?
I think we should just make it less expensive to do it, and like that's the problem with like the barriers.
Less expensive to do what?
Like to force that on somebody who has to do it, like they have to pay for it.
Oh
out of
yeah,
pocket.
okay, yeah.
And it's like like if you're gonna make me have to do this breathalyzer thing to get into a car because I've had one too many DUIs, which in the DUI law has been
tough
stretched.
Political argument he's making there.
This is, I mean, it's a step back from having to just put one in every car, you know. But it's like if you're gonna force me to do this, like if you're gonna make this a rule, pay for it.
Forcing the person
yeah,
on
but why
has to pay $20 a day to have it implemented.
But that's asking the
Yes.
taxpayers to pay for your foul.
Yeah, I know, but
you can't ask us to pay for your foul.
But it makes it that much more difficult for them to overcome that and get back to society. And if that's actually like right now we have a workforce issue, like some of that is probably because the rules are too tough, you know. And
how much does
too much to overcome?
How much does it cost to get one of those put in?
Going off the last price I think I got from Chris, he said it was like $20 to just a day. The state puts it in for free. You have to check in every day and blow into it whenever they beep you to get it put in your car.
Wait,
I think it's like a radio. I think it's like $400 or $500.
They're charging you $20 a day.
Closer to $1,000, but
maybe it could be.
Plus $20 a day. And then here's other rules.
Well, that's where it's free. You don't got to pay for the machine to go in your house. They'll put the machine in your house, but every time it beeps and they have to get you to blow into it, $20.
So
because they got a facial recognition system to make sure you don't have someone blowing for you.
But it has to beep. It just randomly beeps, like they control how many times.
I think it's a pretty random thing.
And that's where it can be kind of harassing. If some people don't get beeped at all, some people get beeped rather quickly. You're 10 minutes late from work.
Sometimes it happens at 2 a.m. and you have to wake up and go blow into it.
Other times you're trying to break into your own house because you lost your key.
Yeah.
And the neighbors called the police because you threw the air conditioning on the lawn. So it's like it can be arbitrary.
It's just tough, but it's just like, you know, then they slap these giant fines on you, and then it's just like, okay, like I guess I can make a payment. Like it ruins your credit score. Like because then your other option is just not pay it, which is, you know, they're not going to necessarily take you back to jail, but now you got that hanging over your head, you know, trying to go get a loan for a car or for a house or to get a breathalyzer put in. I mean, it's just, it's almost impossible to crawl out from the hole once you get so far into it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
So what you're saying is when they arrest Trump and they put him on the breathalyzer, that it's impossible to come back from that.
I like that.
It is impossible. It is impossible for him to come back from that.
Yeah.
Because they're hauling him perp walk, baby. Yeah. They're going to do the mug shots. Where are we going? Where are we going with this, Alec?
Desantis came out and made comments.
I have that on cue.
Okay.
Do you want me to start with that?
Yeah, we can start with that.
I'm going to play Fox's soundbite of DeSantis first. Then I'm going to play CNN. And you guys try and tell me what you think the messaging is going on here. This is Fox and Friends in the morning, and the other one is CNN. What the hell do they call their morning show now?
I don't watch it.
It's
just
Caitlin Thomas, Dawn Lemon.
You're the only person watching.
You watch it and you break it down for us.
I got you.
So I've seen rumors swirl.
This is the clip that Fox and Friends plays.
Seen rumors swirl. I have not seen any facts yet, and so I don't know what's going to happen. But I do know this: the Manhattan District Attorney is a Soros-funded prosecutor, and so he, like other Soros-funded prosecutors, they weaponize their office to impose a political agenda on society at the expense of the rule of law and public safety. He has downgraded over 50% of the felonies to misdemeanors. He says he doesn't want to even have jail time for the vast, vast majority of crimes. I have no interest in getting involved in some type of manufactured circus by some Soros DA, okay? He's trying to do a political spectacle. He's trying to virtue signal for his base. I've got real issues.
That's true.
Okay, but now,
I believe that.
If you're a Fox listener and you're trying to understand how, remember, Ron DeSantis and Trump have the same ticket. The question is DeSantis is I don't have the scandals.
You know the what?
I don't have the scandals. I have the record that I did well in Florida, and I don't come with the baggage of Stormy Daniels.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, they didn't mention that wasn't all Ron DeSantis said. This is what he said before that comment. Fox left it out. CNN only played this.
I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I can't speak to that.
I thought that was good. I thought that was a good joke. I read that
is
earlier.
that if you have a prosecutor who is ignoring crimes happening every single day in his jurisdiction, and he chooses to go back many, many years ago to try to use something about porn star hush money payments, that's an example of pursuing a political agenda and weaponizing the office.
Two totally different tones. You said you like that. What I just heard DeSantis do was a classic Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say. Mm-hmm. I can't call you Meatloaf. I never call you Meatloaf. Mm-hmm. But if for someone to call you Meatloaf, that's it's a passive aggressive, almost a legalese way.
Yeah.
I can't call you stupid. Mm-hmm. But I could say how some people might interpret the things you say to be moronic.
It's a lawyer move. It's
exactly what Trump would have done.
Yeah.
I can't say this. I'm not going to say that Ted Cruz had an effect.
No,
his dad. I'm not saying his dad killed JFK, but there were some people that actually believe. There have been stories. I didn't write them.
Well, if you're able to be funny with it, that makes it land so much better.
Did that work?
So,
Did that
yeah,
work?
No.
Okay.
When I read it in the newspaper, I was like, okay, obviously.
Trump world is in limbo.
This was.
You got to remember, almost 60% of the DeSantis supporters were Trump supporters. 80% of the Republican base is either Ron DeSantis or Donald
they're
Trump.
They're teetering right now. Like one side of it is him and one is DeSantis.
If you are a Trump supporter, how would you even... remember right now, if you're a Trump supporter, you want everybody in MAGA Nation, every Republican rallying behind you. This was not rallying behind you. This was very much... He gave Fox a clip that Fox can play this and go, everything's fine here. We have no infighting. But the moment the reason that CNN was playing that clip is they were interviewing a Republican, Byron Donaldson, a congressman from Florida who played a prominent role in who was going to be Speaker of the House. And they were trying to pin him, so who do you support? Citizen, ex-President Trump, or your governor? And he wiggled out of it, I thought, well enough not to play the clip, that it wasn't anything soundbiteable. But the fact that DeSantis put that out there, he's running.
Oh,
that's not the comment of someone who's playing for the team.
If that's what we're talking about, then absolutely.
That's
Craig,
definitely.
Is there any doubt in your mind that DeSantis isn't running? I thought that was just
that sounds like he's.
That's a clear.
That's an attack.
You could have just endorsed and said nothing.
I do want to ask Craig about it though, because when I heard manufactured circus, I was like, yeah, that resonates with me. The Democrat, because that's exactly what it was. I never believed it for a second when Trump comes out with a full cap text and says, they're coming after me, riot, riot, riot. And it's like, yeah, DeSantis, you called his bluff. It was.
Oh, cool.
Did you believe it, Craig? I guess is my question.
That he was going to get arrested?
Yeah, when it first came out.
He's still getting arrested.
No,
they're claiming tomorrow now.
It's going to be next week. I think it's going to be Monday.
I think they made it up.
I think they made it up. Fabricated.
You don't think he's going to get arrested for that?
No.
I don't think he's getting arrested.
This is Donald Trump. Pulling a classic Donald Trump.
They're going to take a picture of him.
He wants to keep his name in the headlines.
I saw that they're saying that.
They're going to take a picture. They're not going to perp walk him, but he will be indicted under this is totally made up. There's no way that he's actually going to be ruled from running president. If anything, I think people are going to rally behind him because of this. And you can make an argument that maybe Democrats would rather play Trump than DeSantis, so they're firing these backwood charges against him to try and make him more popular.
You would never go public with it if you didn't actually contact them. So it's like...
Andrew Tate, he
was
getting arrested.
He was probably told to fly back to New York. Because they have to fly him back now if he's down in Florida.
You really don't think any charge... do you think it's just going to be a nothing?
I think Trump made this up. That
the Manhattan district attorney...
I think he made up the fact that he's getting arrested. I'm not saying he's making up the charges, but he's getting out ahead of it, in his mind anyways. and he's saying, "Oh, they're gonna arrest me."
Yeah, I did.
No formal charge has actually been made.
Yeah,
but
I
he's
don't.
just gonna go out ahead.
And he
for
called
it.
for protest.
And he called for protest. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what gets me all riled up.
That was crazy.
Like, okay, we're gonna just spend the last 2 years debating January 6th, and then you're gonna go out and actively call a protest, Donald
Multiple
Trump. Like,
times.
yes,
And he doesn't do it on
Yes.
Twitter. If there was ever a time I thought he'd jump back on Twitter, this should have been the time to do it. No, he just sends out truths.
Yeah.
But still
Truth-
managed to
whatever
command the
truth is.
news. You read and he goes, protest, block the streets, don't let anyone get demoralized.
It's just that's why to me this screams media stunt.
Yeah.
And it's Donald Trump has been doing this for years.
Who's wagging whose tail?
He wants to keep his name in the headlines. That
So
has been his MO.
so
Any press is good press. Donald Trump lives and breathes by that statement.
currently Fox is reporting that Trump has never been happier. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
He's the center of the news.
Why not? Yeah.
He
this
is taking over the full
his
news
goal
cycle.
is to be the center of attention.
Somehow, after everything we went through with 2 impeachments, Jan 6, we are back on Stormy Daniels.
And it got him elected the first time.
Michael Avenatti.
So there's no reason why it
we've
couldn't
gone
work
full
again.
circle back to.
Yeah.
So the
And all
Democratic
these
Party.
things get recycled just to keep
Democratic
Donald
Party
Trump in
is
the news.
concerned
It's
with-
all part of the deal. That's all part of his shtick. And it worked the first time to get elected.
Okay.
It could happen again.
3D chess. So if the Democratic Party is so concerned about prostitution, there's this laptop that has a whole bunch of prostitutes on it, so that if you're really concerned about a presidential candidate being exposed sexually, I would think we don't have any bigger target than the person currently sitting in the White House. That last week, we had the bank run, and that's why I've been holding off.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to figure out the effects on the
I have
2024
I have
presidential
comments on
run.
the bank run, yeah.
We have the bank run. So basically, we have a small regional bank go under over the course of 24 hours. Silicon Valley Bank.
SVB for the purpose of this podcast.
There was also a signature bank
Yeah.
that was largely based on crypto.
Yeah,
And then there's
right.
like a federal city bank that's more conservative that has also just recently been bailed out.
Yeah. And then the Swiss banks merged.
Yes.
And there's a lot at play here.
So, and that's why I hesitate on. That's why I wanted to put this conversation last in this part, because I know I've been trying to educate myself the most. I know Craig has a hardline stance. I know you probably have a hardline stance.
It's not a hard line. It's just I did a lot of reading about it for some weird reason. I don't know why. Like I weirdly got.
No,
into
this could
issue,
be
but-
cataclysmic. This could be a change of Canada has
Yes.
2 banks.
right.
We have 1,000 regional banks, 4 major banks.
System. What was the
Sy-
acronym?
Systematically important banks.
Yeah, SIBS.
SIBS.
Yeah. mhm.
Also too big to fail. It
Right.
means we bailed them out in 2008. This is Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup.
Yeah.
This is the 10th grade.
Bank of America.
I already got Bank of America in there.
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan. That's the number one.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one that they kind of look to first, being like, "Do you want to just buy that?"
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if that was the thing with Silicon Valley Bank, it's the big 4 were like,
Let me ask you guys a question, because we can delve into it in multiple facets here. But the thing that astounded me, the one thing I learned most from this ordeal is the FDIC limit. The federal government will insure up to this amount is $250,000
per account.
per account.
Now there is.
And Craig has the best point made on this.
You
and
should
I
never
asked
just
it
commit
early.
to one bank.
Have
Spread it
100
out.
bank accounts if you really need them.
You can just keep opening bank.
What is the point of putting it all in one bank?
That's what I don't understand.
I-
Like
the
these
only
this
thing-
was obviously whoever lost money there, it was in high risk, like in the world of high risk. You know,
Ask yourself this question: why would you ever invest all your money in one bank?
Why would you only buy T-bills as investments?
Well,
like that's this. But I mean, a lot of people are at
what
fault
if
here,
what if you
so-
were invested in that bank?
No, I know.
What if a lot
You
of the
held
people
shares in it.
held shares in
Yes,
Silicon Valley
right.
Bank and they were telling their depositors, hey, slide it over here. Just not telling them, oh, by the way, I'm an investor in that bank, so I get more money if you invest in there, you small depositors. You dumb people who put your $2 million when you could have spread it.
Yeah.
You just
you
put it
could
in
just-
this one. Well, you got coaxed by the person who was investing in you going, listen, we get a better deal if you go all through this bank.
No, it was a bunch of buddies that got together and they screwed it up for themselves.
But
you know, that's
but they
that's
could,
what happened.
But people could check into it is publicly accessible records.
No,
who
that's
your banks are
yeah.
invested in.
And
So you
somebody
could have
was
looked-
smart enough to read the footnotes and they figured it out. And because that was it. Like, they looked at the fact that you can't sell treasury bonds at market rate. You can only get for them what they had depreciated at up to that point. They haven't matured yet. They're not going to sell it to you on that matured level. The Fed could, and the Fed probably should have.
Well, we have not highlighted. We have not highlighted that a lot of these banks invested in apparently the 30-year Treasury note.
Yeah, right.
And that was at a 2% profit.
Yeah.
Once the Federal Reserve upped interest rates to 4.5%, you make a lot more money getting money now because you're getting that 4.5.
So the ratios,
holding it for 30 years for 2%, you'd be better to hold it for 6 months at 5.
You just lost all your money. Well, you lost half of it.
You were dumb to bet long term.
Yeah.
But and then
that's what smart people would stagger that bet.
But then
you can buy 2, 5, 10, 30-year treasury bonds.
But so then
why not stagger?
But then the bank,
smart people should be doing this.
But then the bank comes out and says, well, for the last 13 years it's been 0% interest.
Well, yeah,
why was that?
Well, exactly.
Why for 13 years were banks just investing with no cost? That seems to me to a lot of these banks were over leveraged because things like pandemics hit, gambling environments hit. Everybody, since there's no interest, there's no VIG, bet on anything Silicon Valley.
Well, and they wonder why there's not more deposits, and it's like, well, there's no interest rate.
So
what's
guess
the point of having money in a bank?
Really? The question I have for Craig, because I agree with a lot of his text earlier today, and but I don't know what to do as far as a lot of Republicans, including Vivek Ramaswamy, the Republican Andrew Yang, has said you got to let him fail. At some point, we just can't keep bailing everybody out.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
We talked about that.
Now, my only concern is, and I agree because it's easy as a conservative who, when I look at the things that Silicon Valley Bank was invested in, Roku, we're talking knick-knack Pinterest, businesses that are borderline, they're not big tech, they're medium tech. Yeah. And I would look at that and say, those are bad bets.
Right.
I wouldn't want to invest. I think that's why the major 4 banks didn't bail them out.
But that's why they heavily invested in the long term.
So it's easy for a conservative.
We're going to take this money now and let it stretch.
It's easy for a conservative to go, woke business, let it fail. Mm-hmm. My concern, though, that's why I want to say is not all of these small banks are woke. The concern is that back in 2008, we bailed out all the major banks for being over leveraged on real estate. And we basically said, if we let these banks fail, our entire economy will go down. So we bailed them out.
The problem is your bank is supposed to be a place where you're keeping your money safe. So you want your bank to be incentivized to do safe investing.
So should there be more? A lot of Democrats are saying
banking should be
more regulation. Should there be more regulation on these regional banks? Should they not be able to operate like when you go back to 0% interest in Dodd-Frank?
They pulled some regulation back in 2018. And that was a big thing that people were pointing the finger to say we had these rules after 2008, and it was a Donald Trump initiative. And I'm not saying he was necessarily wrong, but he decided to peel those layers back, those regulations back. Like one of them was they only had to report every 2 years instead of 1, and it's like, well, this just happened to happen in the middle of that. If it was every 1 year, we probably would have found that they were way over leveraged in one part. And maybe the Fed could have stepped in and say, hey, for your own benefit, we're going to make some of those 30-year-old ones 15 and like help out your liquidity. Like something may have happened in that interim, but we would never know because the regulation was, in fact, pulled back. That's a fact. We can't dance around that too much. But I don't necessarily blame Donald Trump for that, though. I don't. He was trying to make the sector.
It's definitely not Trump's fault.
He was trying to make the sector more efficient. It just backfired.
I'm more trying to argue that my concern is that if you did not bail out, right now we don't know yet. We don't know. Biden says the taxpayer dollars are not going to be what's paying for
bank fees.
The
Craig
Silicon Valley bailout.
That even those bank fees gets passed on to the consumer at some point.
We're paying the tax, no matter what. My
concern, Craig, is that we are both against centralized banking. Yeah. Just a few banks being in charge of all of America's fiscal policy. If it's just Bank of America and J.P. Morgan. And you can choose one or the other. And the assumption is America could never let one of them fail because half the country would go down. Right now, we have those big 4 SIBs, and then we have 1,000 regional. And their stocks sell between 10 and 20, 18, 17. They bet on little localized, whether you're in the Northeast or Silicon Valley or in the South.
They harness the geography of people.
What kind of example would we set if we bail out the SIBs in 2008 And then in 2023, when the regional banks get screwed because of bad policy as far as interest rate and bad COVID lockdowns, that we all of a sudden, some markets were juiced for a little bit, people overinvested, these banks over leveraged in things that they thought were permanent. Now they're not. If we don't bail them out, are we encouraging the consolidation just to one major bank? Do we make it so that why would you ever invest in a regional bank?
I.e. the Swiss.
Yes.
I'm worried about the Swiss merger, because if that now sets the flare off,
just
for everybody
big banks
else,
buy little banks. As soon as a little bank fails, there's a run on a little bank.
Now,
a big bank buys it, pays everyone off.
We're talking national consolidation
Yes.
at this point.
And this could happen.
Like
we could go from 1,500 banks to 4.
Like,
Canada has
Canada
2
has
right
2.
now. Canada has 2.
Yes, right.
Canada has 2. And that's why
RBC and
with
one of
this
the other
Credit
ones.
Suisse, we're talking Europe just consolidated.
Yeah.
One top 10 bought another top 10.
Yeah.
And it's like, what have they created? I don't know.
Whatever this makes me, Democrat or Republican, I love the antitrust laws. Why aren't we enforcing
Me
them?
being pro crypto, I'd like the idea of Bitcoin is decentralization.
Well,
the idea is that you don't have a centralized.
I do have a theory on part of this. This is to Bert's ode, because he was the one that pointed this out, was the crypto. Like, that's a whole, like, sort of sub-factor story almost that's happening around the bailout, the SVB, insolvency. And
on one hand, Silicon Valley, what you would associate with crypto, goes under. And Signature, which actually is associated with crypto, is federally regulated.
yes.
So that kind of set on a warning sign. Anyone on crypto is, just because you think a run on the banks happening, invest in crypto. We don't trust you either. And
Well, it was the government saying we don't want that currency in our playing field. They were like, this is too much competition for the dollar right now.
if you get a
We
run
don't
on the
want
bank instead of
crypto.
overconfidence in crypto, that could flip real quick.
And I think this is maybe a factor. I don't know enough about it yet, but this is why I'm interested in this topic. Is I think it's easier to move crypto a lot quicker, like, so you can move large sums of money faster than you could a dollar.
And you can move money without the government knowing.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
Because my question on the run was, while the run was happening for SVB, like, they were saying literally people were doing it on their iPhones on buses to Lake Tahoe. And it's like, so you can withdraw millions of dollars over your phone in a matter of seconds. That doesn't require live signature. That doesn't require you to be there in person.
It does.
Think about the gambling on March Madness this week. You can bet instantaneously.
I know. I mean,
as soon as you want your bank withdrawal, as soon as you read something on Reddit, on Twitter, as soon as you see something from a podcast that you look up to that says, you know what, this bank is looking sus, get the hell out as soon as you can. You can just click. Back in the day, when we had the Great Depression, you had to go get in line at the bank.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
the idea of a run was you were coming home from work, you saw your bank, and we're like, why is everyone standing outside of it?
Yeah.
They go, we don't know when to get our money.
Yeah.
You okay? Well, I guess. Hey, honey,
That's where I'm getting in line
I'm
behind
standing
them.
in line to get our money before we get home.
Give me
apparently,
a six-pack. It could be at night.
that was a slow. I mean, when I say slow, it was days. This was like almost instantaneous.
Instantaneously,
This was
yeah.
at some point at night on Thursday. It was either Wednesday or Thursday night. That
right.
someone pointed out that this is their whole balance sheet screwed, and everyone was like, "Oh God, just give me my money. I don't want anything to do with it." How do you determine who goes when? It depends on your internet connection.
Like, why didn't they just close? I mean, technology,
like we did during COVID. Like we did when
yeah.
we lost control of the economy. We just shut the stock market down. You
just
can't
shut it
buy
down.
or sell.
Yeah.
We did this with Robinhood
Yes,
during the AMC.
it's happened
But you
multiple times in history.
see, I don't like
so-
that shit because you should be allowed to get your money.
It's a
But
bet. No,
I just-
like you said earlier, it's a bet. When you invest in a stock
But
market,
how-
I don't view it as a bet. I
But
view
how
it as
in-
an investment.
I just want to know how in 2023,
when you buy a stock, it can go to zero. You don't have any
well,
insurance.
and all the
That's a bet.
and all the shareholders lost.
I
for
mean,
SVB.
but that can happen with a house.
Sure.
It can happen with a farm.
You can look
Like,
up stock. Yeah, they could all
But
be
all
bets.
the investors lost their money.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget that.
The owners,
fact.
the founders didn't.
Yeah.
The
Well,
founders didn't. A lot of the stockholders, a lot of the
did.
shareholders,
All the shareholders lost
they
their
cashed
money.
out,
Yeah.
and that money apparently can be clawed back.
Did you know
to
that
the term.
bonuses were paid just like
weeks before.
hour, like just
That Gary Becker. Oh no, he's a Greg. He's an insult to my name. He's a Greg Becker, the guy who's in charge of Silicon Valley Bank. Yeah, scum. That's where the woke argument comes in. Is when you look at the people he had underneath it. underneath him, like his cabinet. No one was qualified to do a risk assessment. And it's like you just hired a bunch of different woke ESG, environmental social credit score kind of people.
Don't really know what they're doing.
And all of a sudden you have this super woke. That's where you're going to hear a lot of people in the news hear it referred to as woke. I would not call it that because to me, as if it was conservative, I would still want it to be bailed out. I am very concerned about it being centralized banking. And I don't know enough to avoid that. I see a direct scenario here where we decide to say, no, screw them, buy out the ones you want, the ones that we can't, Darwin, survival of the fittest. We end up with 4 monster banks and no competition. No real way for the small guy to
Consolidation has killed most American businesses.
It's monopoly. We've been
antitrust. The railroads, the newspapers, oil. I mean, like every industry has.
Military.
Consolidation issues. The media, the media notwithstanding. I mean, we used to always complain the media has basically 3 or 4 powerful guys that own like most of everything, from TV stations to radio stations to newspapers to just any kind of like media. Like only 4 people really own all of it. Like that is ridiculous. Like that is ridiculous.
And you can go back to the 1940s and kind of chart the similar groups of families and names in different areas.
No, it's just that habit. I mean, that's just, you don't have like family businesses anymore. I don't know. Like to me, I want that again. I want a small town bank. Like I went to my bank the other day.
And Tony Dunzio was a regional bank guy.
Yeah, he was a regional bank guy. Like I was at my bank that I do business with the restaurant, and I asked them about like the bailout. Like, hey, does that like affect you guys? And he's like, oh no, because 90% of our deposits are insured, meaning $250,000 or less. And like that's the probably sustainable way to do it, right? Like the idea is you have a large amount of people that give you a smaller sum, in this case under $250,000, whatever you consider little. But it's not like 20 big whales giving you like $20 million each, because the minute one of those whales wants to take all their money out of your bank, you're fucked, So, well, that like resonated too well. But,
yes, got that message across. Regional banks, no,
so I want a smaller corner bank.
Craig,
I guess
you're pro regional bank, or you're not for the consolidation?
No, I'm pro regional bank. Yeah,
but do you think there's a way to do this without? Could you let SVB fail and let those people that had, let's say they had $10, $25 million in the deposited in that bank, they're only getting insured $250,000. They can't make bankroll to run their Pinterest, their Pinterest. What's the other one they had? The app, the thing Fitbit's another company. This thing was invested in.
There was just a lot.
Little guys.
I never really flushed out my whole crypto conspiracy per Bert. That at least what I think Bert's saying. We should get Bert to call in.
We got
this matter.
We got to get him. We got to get him on one of these cryptos.
We should get him on one of the, because I think he has a really strong argument here that it was really the government fighting against crypto,
and he understands the fundamental.
Especially the second one in New York. Which one was that called again, Greg? The one began with an S, maybe. The bank that failed. Signature, yes.
The crypto exchange.
That was the big one.
I think we're definitely seeing a war between crypto and the government.
Definitely.
The government's trying to kill crypto.
I'll take at least out in Conspiracy Village for that one, because I think there's something to it.
Last things I wanted to mention for the
I say we have a minute left before we end the first half here.
Main episode is Tucker Carlson put out a feeler survey to all the Republican candidates asking them what they thought on the state of Ukraine. Both Trump and Desantis said it's a border dispute. We shouldn't be spending any more money. Well, Fox went into a tizzy because Tucker is the only person saying that it's not worth the money. Okay. There are still some liberals like that are holding out. Jimmy Dore, Joe Rogan, Russell Brand that are going, this war looks suspect.
Yeah, it's a proxy
war. There's a bunch of neo-libs that are standing up for it. Is there a chance here? Like, to me, this is a big move by DeSantis to go against Mitch McConnell. The last episode, you were defending Mitch McConnell in a way that I didn't really check you. You were trying to cite yourself correct against me because Mitch McConnell agreed with you. And I was trying to argue that the fact that Mitch is aligning with Chuck is a problem that we should all be concerned about. But I didn't quite bring that up.
Okay.
But no.
Well, I think we'll get into that in the second half.
The president should not be subject to Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell.
Let's take a break, and we will get back to you in part 2 coming up.
Fun topics.